Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, C2 level English vocabulary listening practice topic name is 20 plus C2 level vocabulary on emotional states.
And welcome. We're so glad you're here because today we're not just, going to read a list of words at you. Our mission is all about mastering how you can talk about the huge, complicated, and, often contradictory world of human emotions at that C2 level.
Yeah, and that C2 standard from the CEFR, it's so demanding, isn't it? It means you have to go way beyond just getting your point across.
It really does.
It's about expressing yourself spontaneously with real accuracy and handling these really complex ideas like it's second nature. It's the difference between saying, I'm sad, and picking that one single perfect word that captures the exact kind of sadness you're feeling.
Absolutely. The emotional spectrum it's the core of being human. And these sophisticated words and phrases, they're the tools you need to narrate your own story or, analyze what makes other people tick in a way that sounds truly native-like, vivid, and empathetic.
It takes your language from just being functional to being. Wow, fascinating.
That's the goal.
So we've got a pretty comprehensive list, about 24 terms that we've organized to make this as clear as possible. We're going to start with the high points, joy, enthusiasm, then take a look at discomfort and exhaustion, and then really plumb the depths of dissatisfaction and despair.
By the time we're done, you should have a really nuanced vocabulary that you can start using right away.
Okay, let's unpack the vocabulary that describes happiness, optimism, and that sort of high-octane magnetic energy we all love being around. We are starting off strong with a word that suggests not just happiness, but a deep resilience. Buoyant.
Buoyant is a fantastic place to start because it offers this wonderful physical metaphor for a mental state. The word itself, its etymology goes back to the Latin boiare.
Which means?
It means to float. So as an adjective, it means optimistic and cheerful, especially when you're facing some kind of difficulty. It just creates this image of a mood that's light and, unsinkable.
I love that emphasis on resilience. So it's not just being happy when everything's going great.
Exactly.
It's about holding on to that positive outlook when things are trying to drag you down. We see it used for big concepts too, right? Like you can talk about a buoyant economy.
You can, one that bounces back quickly after a downturn. And that directly fuels consumer confidence. It stops that sort of widespread pessimism from setting in.
Right. And for a person, say, an entrepreneur.
A perfect example. They might be dealing with failure after failure, getting rejections from investors, but someone with a buoyant outlook, they don't see those as final. They reframe them. Each no is just a step closer to the final yes.
But is that something you can learn? Or are some people just born that way?
That's a great question, and it's key for C2 application. Psychologists like Barbara Fredrickson, they study what they call emotional buoyancy, and they link it directly to your overall well-being.
So you can cultivate it.
You can. Through practices like reframing failure, practicing gratitude, it stops those small disappointments from piling up into this feeling of defeat. A buoyant spirit is what allowed so many people, like educators during the pandemic, to adapt and model hope for others. It's a kind of strategic emotional management.
That really turns a definition into a practical skill.
Okay, moving on. Let's look at two terms that are about radiating high energy, but in slightly different ways. Beaming and exuberant.
Right. So beaming is fundamentally a word about light. It means you're conveying joy so intensely that you almost seem to be glowing, like a beam of light. It goes back to Old English.
It was very visual then. It describes that physical expression of pure delight.
It is, especially when it's tied to pride or some kind of visible success.
Like an athlete, maybe Simone Biles, who is just beaming after an amazing Olympic victory. It's that immediate, powerful, and very visible expression of triumph and maybe relief, too. And that's where the nuance comes in. Beaming often suggests this sort of quiet, profound joy you see on someone's face. Exuberant, on the other hand, that's all about overflowing energy and vitality. The Latin root, exuberare, literally means to overflow.
Ah, okay. So it's more active.
Much more active. It describes being filled with this lively, sometimes even noisy excitement.
So if I were describing a proud parent watching their child graduate, I'd say they were beaming.
Perfect.
But if I were at a huge festival parade with music and dancing, the whole atmosphere would be exuberant.
That's the distinction exactly. Exuberant suggests movement, noise, intensity. Think of kids running through a park just shouting with glee. That is exuberant. Artists are often said to channel exuberant passion into their work. Think of someone like Frida Kahlo, whose art is just bursting with this vibrant, overflowing energy, despite all her personal struggles.
That's a fantastic distinction. Okay, shifting slightly to words that describe a kind of infectious cheer, the type of happiness that just pulls people in. Let's look at upbeat and bubbly.
Upbeat is a word we all know, but its origin is so interesting. It comes from music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the upbeat is that unaccented beat right before the main downbeat. It implies this forward-moving, energetic momentum. It feels proactive.
It sounds almost strategic, like it's a tone you choose to set to manage a situation. A manager could give an upbeat quarterly report, even if the numbers aren't amazing, by focusing on future growth to keep morale high.
It has a therapeutic use, too. Some psychological research suggests that for things like seasonal affective disorder, deliberately listening to upbeat music or maintaining an upbeat attitude can act as a really important emotional counterweight.
So it's like cheerfulness is a conscious choice.
Precisely.
And then we have bubbly,
Yeah.
which is that lively, enthusiastic, almost effervescent quality, like champagne.
It is, and it's so strongly associated with social, outgoing personalities. It's about charisma.
Right. You picture a party host or maybe a barista whose bubbly greeting just makes your day a little better.
Exactly. And studies on workplace dynamics, like those from Harvard Business Review, show that genuinely bubbly people can seriously improve team chemistry and customer satisfaction. They're like a social lubricant. The key is that it implies this constant sparkling energy in how you interact with people.
Okay, we're now at the absolute summit of happiness peak triumph. 3 really powerful terms here: elated, jubilant, and the C2 idiom on cloud 9.
This is where the intensity really peaks. So elated describes being incredibly excited and happy because of a major positive event. It suggests you're being emotionally lifted up. The Latin root, elatus, even means exalted or carried out.
So it's that feeling of being raised to a higher, untouchable state. It's often this internal, overwhelming joy from a huge personal achievement, like a student who is elated to get into their dream university.
Yes, or historically, you think of Nelson Mandela's elated release from prison in 1990, a joy tied to this immense triumph for millions of people.
And jubilant.
Yeah.
How's that different?
Jubilant takes that joy and it externalizes it. It adds this sense of collective celebration, of triumph. It comes from the Latin jubilare, which means to shout for joy. It's almost always linked to a public victory.
So this one is loud. It's kinetic. You think of sports fans becoming jubilant the second their team scores the winning goal, like the scenes in Argentina after the 2022 World Cup.
It's that eruption of cheers and horns, that shared cathartic release, and that shared physical element is so important. Research shows that these jubilant moments lead to a huge endorphin release, which helps relieve stress. It's happiness as a shared physical triumph.
And that brings us to the idiomatic peak, on cloud 9.
A must-know for any C2 learner. It just means being tremendously excited, euphoric, usually over something truly monumental.
Where did that phrase even come from?
It's a charming origin, actually. One theory is that it comes from meteorology. The old U.S. Weather Bureau designated Cloud 9 as the highest flying type of cumulus cloud. So if you are in Cloud 9, you were literally at the peak of bliss.
That's great. And it applies perfectly to those life-altering moments, right? Winning the lottery, launching a successful book, or new parents feeling on cloud 9 when they hold their baby for the first time.
It does. And motivational psychology actually suggests that reaching those on cloud 9 milestones helps you achieve future goals because it reinforces your belief in yourself.
Okay, finally, in our joy section, 2 words for a calmer, maybe warmer kind of happiness.
Yeah.
Blissful and jovial.
Right. Blissful describes a state of perfect, serene, untroubled happiness. The Old English root, blithes, means joyful, but the word today carries this feeling of idyllic, almost transcendent peace.
It's a quiet contentment, like a couple having a blissful afternoon without any distractions, or that profound, peaceful love a parent feels holding a newborn.
Exactly. It's happiness as profound peace. It's what wellness retreats promise when they market blissful states through meditation and yoga.
And jovial, that's all about warmth and approachability, isn't it? Cheerful, hearty, good-natured. I love that this one is literally cosmic. It comes from Jupiter, or Jove.
It is. Jove was the god associated with good fortune and joy. And the word is the total opposite of a dour or guarded personality. Think of a jovial community leader who uses laughter to bring people together, or the classic image of a jovial grandfather.
It's infectious good humor.
And it's surprisingly valuable in the workplace. Studies on employee engagement show that managers with a jovial demeanor can significantly improve team cohesion and collaboration. It shows the real, tangible benefits of just being warm.
All right, so we've talked about the highs. Now we have to sort of pivot a bit.
We do. We're moving from the peaks of emotion to the inner states of unrest that need careful management. This section is all about anxiety, restlessness, and total depletion. And for C2, you have to be able to articulate the subtle differences.
This is such a crucial transition because these states are everywhere in modern high-pressure life. Let's start with the physical signs of that unrest. Fidgety and jittery. How do we tell them apart?
Well, fidgety describes being unable to stay still and calm. It's often because of nervousness, but sometimes just extreme boredom. It's restlessness that you show physically through small, repetitive movements.
It's that distracting, constant need to move. A kid squirming in their seat during a long ceremony.
Yes.
Or someone tapping their pen on the table while they wait for important news. There's even a connection to conditions like ADHD, where things like fidget toys can actually help people focus by managing that physical restlessness.
That's right. Now, jittery suggests is a different kind of energy. It means having a nervous, restless energy that often shows up as being shaky or actively anxious. Think of rapid vibrations. It's that classic pre-event nerve state.
So let's take a job interview.
Yep.
You might be fidgety because you've been sitting in the waiting room for 20 minutes and can't stop tapping your fingers.
Right, from boredom or restlessness.
But you're jittery because of the adrenaline and the anxiety about the actual interview.
That's the perfect distinction. They can happen at the same time, but the cause is different. Jittery almost always implies anxiety or overstimulation, like from too much caffeine. Financial reporters will say investors are jittery when the market is volatile, and that nervous instability leads to bad decisions.
And those two states, whether you're just restless or actively anxious, they can often lead to our next term, drained. And this is so much more than just being tired, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Drained is such a powerful word. It means you're depleted of physical or emotional energy. It emphasizes that feeling of being completely emptied out, like a reservoir that's run dry.
It applies to both physical and emotional work. You feel drained after running a marathon.
Of course.
But you also feel completely drained after mediating a long, difficult family argument. You need time alone to recover emotionally.
And its relevance today is just profound. Studies on caregivers, for example, show how they often feel deeply drained from balancing their duties with their own lives. We also saw it with work-from-home burnout, where people felt drained by the constant blurring of work and personal space. It's a total depletion.
All right, this next section. This is where that C2 precision really, really matters, doesn't it? We have to be so careful here, differentiating between irritation, deep sadness, disappointment, apathy.
Absolutely. Let's start with dissatisfaction and anger. The first word is disgruntled. This describes feeling dissatisfied, and it usually comes from a sense of unfairness or unmet expectations.
It's not explosive anger, then?
No, it's more of a muted, simmering, brooding anger. The old verb it comes from, gruntle, meant to grumble.
So it's that mood of quiet complaint that just lingers? You think of disgruntled employees who are unhappy with a new policy and start making formal complaints. It's anger that comes from feeling the system has wronged you.
And it's a critical term in politics. Pundits talk about how disgruntled voters who feel ignored or left behind can completely change an election. It's all driven by that perception of unfairness.
Okay, now let's ramp up the intensity with exasperated.
Exasperated is intense frustration, and the key here is that it stems from persistent, repeated issues. It's when your irritation hits a peak. The Latin root, exasperare, actually means to roughen.
Like sandpaper on your nerves.
That's a great way to put it. It's that feeling of, I cannot believe this is happening for the 10th time. A parent gets exasperated when their child ignores the same instruction over and over.
It's the perfect word for dealing with bureaucracy. You're trying to get a permit, there are endless forms, contradictory instructions, you become exasperated. Or with remote work, when technology glitches in a meeting for the 3rd time, everyone gets so exasperated.
Exactly. Now let's drop the intensity and formality way down to peeved. This one is very informal. It just means you're mildly annoyed by a specific, often minor thing.
This is the everyday stuff. You get peeved when someone takes your parking spot, or when a colleague takes credit for your idea.
Yes, it's low stakes, it's specific, and it's usually over pretty quickly. In relationships, it's the small habits like leaving wet towels on the floor that can peeve a partner over time and lead to those small, simmering conflicts.
Okay, moving from frustration now to a mix of shock and, well, Indifference. Let's look at dismayed and lackadaisical.
Dismayed is a very complex feeling. It means you're deeply troubled or baffled by an unexpected, disappointing event. And critically, it involves shock and a loss of courage. The old French root, démailler, means to deprive of courage.
So it's that sudden jolt of bad news that just paralyzes you for a second.
It is. A community might be dismayed by the sudden closure of a beloved local library, or environmentalists feel profoundly dismayed by the latest climate change reports. Because the scale of the problem is so huge, it just diminishes your will to act. The shock is overwhelming.
And contrast that stunned feeling with lackadaisical. This one is, well, it's lazy. It's dreamy, lacking energy or interest. It's a kind of nonchalant indifference.
And it's a catastrophic attitude to have professionally. A lackadaisical approach to safety regulations can lead to disaster. Business analysts often point to lackadaisical management, failing to oversee details or enforce standards, as a key reason why companies fail. It's a total lack of necessary effort.
Okay, now we're entering the most challenging, most nuanced part of our deep dive. The words for deep sadness and despair. We have 6 terms here, and we need to understand the distinct emotional flavor of each one.
We do. We have forlorn, despondent, dejected, downcast, crestfallen, and disheartened. Let's start with forlorn. This word conveys deep loneliness. It means feeling abandoned, desolate, utterly hopeless. The Old English root forlorn just means lost.
It creates such a powerful, almost literary image. A forlorn puppy waiting for its owner to come back.
Yeah.
Or tragically, you read descriptions of refugees in camps who appear forlorn, completely cut off from their homes and former lives.
It's the sorrow of deep, sustained isolation. Next is despondent. This means feeling hopelessly discouraged, usually after a major failure. The Latin root, despondere, means to give up. This is when hope isn't just diminished, it's actively surrendered.
So this is hitting rock bottom after you've tried something really big. A scientist who becomes despondent after years of research turns out to be flawed. Or a job seeker who is despondent after dozens of rejections and starts to believe they'll never succeed.
It suggests a much deeper hopelessness than just being sad. And it's a word we see a lot now in mental health campaigns, talking about youth who feel despondent because of social media pressure and an uncertain future.
And how is dejected different? People mix those up all the time.
They do, but dejected is less final. It means feeling downcast or discouraged. The Latin deicere means to throw down, so it suggests you've been emotionally cast low by an event. It's sadness from a recent disappointment, but it doesn't mean you've lost all hope.
So it's a state of lowered morale. You see it in sports all the time. The team looks dejected in the locker room after losing the championship, or workers feeling dejected after layoffs. It's a specific, immediate reaction to a loss.
Exactly. Then there's downcast, which often describes the physical state that goes with deep sadness. It's characterized by a lowered gaze. Your eyes are literally cast down. It's a nonverbal cue that shows the weight of your worries.
It's so visual. Mourners at a funeral often appear downcast. It's a quiet, external sign of internal sorrow.
And now we get to crestfallen. This one is wonderfully specific. It means you feel intensely disappointed and sad because of an unexpected failure, usually one that hits your pride.
Where does a word like that come from?
It came from describing a fighting rooster whose crest, the symbol of its pride, falls down when it's defeated. So it's the feeling of your pride just collapsing.
So the key here is the fall from a height of expectation. The student who was sure they passed the exam, only to find out they failed, they're crestfallen. The entrepreneur who was so confident before their big pitch gets rejected.
That's it, exactly. And finally, disheartened. This means you've lost courage, hope, or enthusiasm. Your spirit or heart is diminished, but there is a crucial difference between this and being despondent.
And that nuance is everything at the C2 level.
It is. While a despondent person has given up, a disheartened person has just suffered a temporary blow to their spirit. You can be disheartened by negative feedback, but still be determined to improve. Activists might get disheartened by slow progress, but they keep fighting.
So it's a reduction in spirit, not a complete surrender to hopelessness.
Precisely. And understanding those 6 words and their subtle differences, that is a huge step toward real C2 mastery of emotional vocabulary. It lets you pick the one term that truly fits the moment.
Wow, we have really traveled across the entire emotional landscape today, from that high-flying and unsinkable buoyant spirit through the anxiety of being jittery and all the way down into the valleys of the exasperated professional and the forlorn individual. That was 24 sophisticated terms.
And the utility of this vocabulary for your own accuracy and expression, it really can't be overstated. By consciously taking these words on board, you give yourself the tools to express not just that you feel something, but to convey what you feel and why. And that precision is the hallmark of C2 communication.
And as we always say, knowing this stuff is only half the battle. You have to apply it. We really encourage you, our listener, to start incorporating these terms into your communication. Maybe tonight, try journaling about your day and actively swap out basic words for these C2 level ones. Notice when you felt jubilant or just a bit peeved, or when a setback left you feeling specifically crestfallen.
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over, one that really brings all this precision together. Think about a major disappointment you had recently, maybe professionally. Now, consider the distinctions. Was your feeling dismayed? That baffled shock and loss of courage? Was it crestfallen, the collapse of pride after high hopes? Or was it simply dejected, a temporary general state of being cast low? Choosing the exact C2 term reveals so much, not just about your feeling, but about the event itself. And that analysis, that's the real journey to fluency.
We really hope you found incredible value in this deep dive and feel better equipped to talk about these complex emotional states.
If you found this deep dive valuable, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Thank you so much for joining us for this intensive vocabulary session, and we look forward to going on the next deep dive with you soon.